Danai Gurira.
They're gonna do a photo right here. Tonight. Okay, guys, put your phones out. Count of three, go nuts. 1, 2, 3.
But this one is. Thanks. Trying to project, you know? But spread the love, share the conversation, use hashtag FanX16, and let all your friends at home know this is what Comic-Con's all about. This is why you should be here. And I'm so glad that you are here with me today to have a little conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Of course, in addition to The Walking Dead new episode tomorrow night, I've seen it. It is a killer. You're working on the All Eyes on Me biopic of Tupac Shakur. I'm a New York City boy, very lucky that you have 2 plays right now that you wrote in New York City, Eclipsed and Familiar. And so that's sort of the first question is, as a playwright and as an actor, which do you find more creatively challenging for you to get into the headspace, to get it, executed? Is it the writing, or is it more of the acting?
Well, I think the thing is with acting is that you have no choice. Like, it's like, you gotta be here at 5 a.m. and we're gonna shoot this scene for 6 hours, and that's that. Whereas with writing, sometimes you're creating your own schedule, and that requires a whole other degree or realm of discipline. I find them both equally challenging. It just depends on what you're facing, what you have to step into at that time. But in terms of actually getting the work done, I think writing is the one that really has to be deeply self-motivated. Because, they're both very self-motivating crafts, but once you have the job as an actor, they're going to tell you when and where. But as a writer, it's so up to you to dig deep and to find that time and create it in your life.
Well, and Eclipsed is about Liberian women soldiers, and correct me if I'm wrong, I hope this doesn't sound daft, but there seems to be some parallels there with Michonne. Is that correct? Are there some?
Yeah, it's about 5 women who, during the Liberian War, which is a country in West Africa, which had a very vicious war around, probably spanning over 20 years, but it goes into the time when it got really, really bad in 2003. And so it tells the story of 3 women who've been abducted and are functioning as kind of somewhat slaves in a sense to bushwives, as they would be called, to a commanding officer of a rebel army. One of the women we meet is a rebel soldier. And she, to me, when I came across Michonne, I'd written Eclipsed in 2009. I met Michonne in 2012. But when I met Michonne, I was like, this is like my mom. Like, she reminded me of the character I'd created based on women I'd encountered who had become very powerful women of war in the sense that they became their own weapon. They kind of adapted to the hostility of the world they were in and became very, very, very frightening in a sense to many frightening women and people who could really take care of themselves because they'd gone through trauma and realized they couldn't rely on anyone but themselves. So that really to me was like, oh, this I know this chick. She feels like a woman of war. One of those women who decided to turn themselves into their own weapon to deal with how hostile the world had become. So yeah, there was a parallel there. Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's kick it off with some audience questions. And of course, you guys know you're not going to get any spoilers out of her anyhow. But so let's just avoid these spoilery questions because it just wastes time for everybody.
They have a microchip in me. If I do it, I'll like zap.
Yeah. Well, they'll take me out first as the warning, and then I don't want that.
Hi, my name is Lisa. Thank you, Danai, for making my dream of post-apocalyptic Brady Bunch come true. Really appreciate that. To that end, if anything were to happen to Rick and Carl given how much healing Michonne has done in the past few seasons, what kind of dark place do you see Michonne going to?
Oh gosh, you just want to go to the dark place. Lady's happy and in love for a second, you know what I'm saying? Like, can she just be happy and in love for 4 minutes? 4 minutes.
Maybe on another show.
Right, exactly. Well, I think the choice she made in season 4 was that, she made a choice in episode 9 of season 4 where, that moment where she sees her doppelganger, she sees what she could become if she just gives up. She could become a walking dead person herself, and she chooses to and be alive at the same time, because if she just walks away and doesn't find people again and decides to be a loner again, she can function and survive, but she won't really be alive. So the choice she makes when she goes back and she finds Rick and Carl in that house, she didn't know she was going to find Rick and Carl, but what she did know was that she was choosing to invest in people and to invest in living people, in life. And that involved risk, that involved vulnerability, that involved not knowing if loss was gonna come again and again and again, but choosing to actually function as in her fullest self, which is I will stay alive as long as I can, and I will invest in others. So I hope she would continue to do that. But so far, thankfully, we haven't had to think about that.
Hi, my name's Jake, and I was wondering, your sword skills on set, how do they compare to your sword skills off set?
Well, I guess they're the same because I'm the same chick. So everything I learn, I kind of have in my body. But it's a continual process. I keep learning.
And probably not killing as many people or zombies.
No, unfortunately, that's illegal.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
In the recent episode where Jesus wakes up you and Rick, was that an extremely awkward scene to film?
Yeah, the whole term The Walking Dead family became a whole new thing that day. It's like, there are like 6 cameramen behind you as you jump out of that bed. So I'll leave it there. There's an artistic, there was the ADs, the boom guy. Oh, Max, yeah, me and Max are real close now. He's right next to me. So, it was just, at the end of the day, it was like, now I'll do it anytime, whatever, done that. So it actually was a bonding experience, it really was, ultimately. I walked in the room at first and I was like, and I realized there were going to be all those people in there because I kind of thought it would just be like 2 people, and it was like 8, But, it was fun. Me and Tom, the gentleman who plays Jesus, we've been hanging out with him for a little while, actually. So, we'd hung out with him socially, and we'd been joking about it. And I was like, I can't believe this is the first scene I'm doing with you. He's like, oh, darling. No, he's British. She's all like, oh, don't worry about it, darling. I'm like, yeah, you say don't worry about it. And, he was like, then the last time I saw him before we shot, he was like, so I'll see you in bed. So we just kept it really light and fun. And, it was, I had my little shock moment where I considered, when I was in the other room getting prepped, I considered jumping out the window and running down the street. I was like, I can do this. But it was fun. It was very bonding, and ultimately we had a great time that evening.
Hi, my name is Jeannie. I was just wondering how you're working with all those same actors for so long. How has the dynamics between you guys changed? And I know romance start when it's been that long and that much time together with someone. So I'm just...
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is, it really does sound like, oh, we're making this up or we're exaggerating, but it really is a family, and I think our relationships have just gotten stronger over the years as friends, as family. You have a trust, you have an unspoken way of working together that's just seamless, and you get each other and you understand how to work with each other. So it's actually, it's interesting because the other times I've stepped into, whatever sort of relationships my characters were in, I was meeting them that day or like a week before. So, but it's interesting when you're like, yeah, you already have a degree of friendship and trust between yourself and whoever you're dealing with, like whoever it would have been, and in this case it was Andy. But like it's already family. It's already very. It's a great starting point for anything like that because we already get each other and know each other, trust each other, and are willing to step into whatever our characters need from each other. So it's actually the best scenario, honestly.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marissa, and I was wondering, what is the hardest thing about Walking Dead?
Like shooting it?
I could be really corny and say leaving at the end, but it is sad when we leave each other. It is. We actually miss each other when we're not around each other, which sounds crazy because we spend so much time together. But it's also, the challenging thing is that other character in the play called Georgia Summers, which is like the heat and the humidity, which sometimes can be, it can be kind of like they have to make sure we're like hydrated enough and cool enough to like keep going through a 16-hour day and staying alive in the literal sense. So yeah, that's probably one of the most challenging things, but it's such a great color to the show that we actually are working against an environment that is not kind to us. It actually, I think, really, it keeps things very real. It keeps the sweat very real. So there's something really viscerally great about it. But there are times where it's like, you can start to, I've had moments where I've had to like take a minute out and, they've had to make sure my temperature was lower and, those things happen if you're not careful. So, Georgia weather is no joke in June, July, August, even September. So that's kind of the challenge. And then there are the bugs, Then there's a whole like check yourself every night for ticks thing. Like, make sure there are no ticks anywhere. That's a whole other fun component. I'd say those are the two things.
Hi, I'm Laura, and so you are an amazing actor and you play an amazing character. She has a lot of aspects to her. I was wondering if you yourself have taken on any of her aspects in your life.
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. I think that there are ways that she's evolved. Like before, she was like, I was like, what? This chick is so like, strapped down in her issues, and she's so covered, she's so walled up, and I'm like fun and goofy, and then at some point she evolved past me, and I was like, what happened? Because now I find her more mature than me half the time. There are ways in which she's, she's very cool-headed. And I don't know if anyone would describe me that way. So I'm learning from her. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda. You're a great actress.
Thank you.
My question is, what was it like filming the scene where Carl gets shot in the eye?
Oh yeah, I mean that was really, really, really intense. That entire, not just the entire like thing. We shot it over a couple days, but it was very, very, very intense. And that moment when he's shot, and then I don't know that he's been shot in the eye. All I know is that Ron was shot at him and Rick, and then I take Ron out, and then me and Rick realize simultaneously that. That Carl has been shot. And it was so intense because turning around, looking at each other, and basically Andy played it so beautifully that he kind of looks up at me like, what are we gonna do? I like just in shock and horror, and then I turn around and start to run, and he picks up Carl, and we just know what we're gonna do. We're gonna run to Denise. We don't say it, we don't discuss it, we're just gonna do it. And we were running up a hill, the guy shooting it was running in front of us with a steady cam, and he's running facing me, running backwards, and I'm slashing, and Andy was, I mean, the sobs coming out of him, it was just really, really intense and frightening. I mean, this is both of their worst nightmares. So it was a very intense scene to shoot.
I mean, the show clearly does these intense scenes, these intense episodes very well, but it also has this very solid character study standalone episodes as well, such as with Lenny James Morgan and John Carroll Lynch. That felt like a two-man show.
Right, yes.
So, as a playwright, would you ever consider, writing an episode?
It has never really crossed my mind. It has been mentioned to me by people like yourself, but it has never really crossed my mind. I like to stay in my lane. Not saying that I'm not willing to venture out into different things, but just to say that I think that there's something so fantastic about how this show is crafted by Mr. Gimple and his team that I'm quite happy, because as a writer, that's a lot of responsibility that I love to take on. But when I come to The Walking Dead, I love just to be handed these amazing scripts that have already been labored over, and I just get to slip in and do the work as an actor. But I mean, I never say never. I never say never. But it hasn't been something that I've actually thought to do.
I bet it would be good.
Oh, you're sweet.
Yeah.
Hi, Danai. My name's Aimee. My question for you is if you are a Star Wars fan, and if so, have you seen the videos where they replace your katana with a lightsaber?
I know it's so un-American to say I don't know much about Star Wars, so I'm sorry, I don't want to say that, but I don't know much about Star Wars. And here's my disclaimer, I am a very proud American, but I was raised in Zimbabwe, so we just didn't have it there. So otherwise I'm sure I would know a lot about it. I like the saber, it looks cool, so I'm cool with that. But I just don't know much about Star Wars. And my dear friend Lupita, who's in one of my plays, she's part of it now. So I really do want to learn more, and I will. But just at this moment, I think the saber looks very cool, though. Love it.
Hi, Danai. I'm Noelle. My question is that what has been your favorite one-liner or quote so far on The Walking Dead?
Oh gosh.
Of her own or of any character?
Yeah.
Anything. Any character, your own, could you get anything?
Cutlets gets a lot.
Yeah. The thing I love about the Cutlets lines is actually I love watching Steven's character respond to them. It's he's responding to them how we would, what? But yeah, where's Deanna? Right, of course. That was fun. Oh, there's so many. I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, on my own, I loved the It's Too Damn Gorgeous in season 3, episode 12, mainly because it just allowed us to really get to another color of Michonne. She likes cats. Obviously, she's a cat girl. Of course she's into cats. She's not into dogs. She's a cat girl. I'm a dog person. I'm not into cats, but of course Michonne's into cats. You know what I mean? So I loved that line for so many reasons, and how it bonded her and Carl. But oh my God, there's so many things. I mean, there's so many. I can't even think of them. I'm gonna think, and then throughout this discussion, if one comes to me, I'll just say it. How about that?
Right.
Now I put that on myself.
So, hi, I'm Sebastian. Have you ever been, or would you like to go to South America, and which country?
Oh yeah, I'd love to go to South America. I have only really been to Mexico, but I would love to go to many parts. I'd love to go to Brazil. I'd love to go to Argentina. I was supposed to go. Oh gosh, was I supposed to go to Colombia? That was for something connected to a human rights organization I work with. But yeah, no, of course, it's definitely something I plan to do. Of course.
Hello, I'm Sahar. Hi. So if everybody on your current team turned into walkers, who would be the hardest one to kill emotionally?
Oh gosh.
Man, this is dark.
I know. She's in love, y'all. I think definitely there's something about Carl for her, He's also the next generation, and he's the hope, and he's become a true survivor. And there's something so powerful about that for her, also with the loss of her son. So I think there's something very connected to that, for that. that connection, I think, would be very difficult to go there for her.
Hi, my name is Sadie, and I was just wondering, what would you do if the zombie apocalypse actually happened?
At Comic-Con? Like right now? Right this second?
Either one.
Yeah.
I think I'd grab one of the swords out of my trunk and go from there.
I would try to stay as close to you as possible then, I guess. Yeah.
Hope it's sold out. Make believe.
I know, right? But at Comic-Con, with so many people dressed up as zombies, it would take a while to notice.
Right? It's the worst place for it to break out.
Hey Danai, I'm Callie, and I was wondering if the apocalypse started tomorrow, kind of like hers, what 3 characters from season 6 would you want on your team and why?
Oh no, I can't, my dear, I can't. It's like choosing favorites, I can't. I mean, everyone in our team is so strong and so able at this point, you know, even the pastor has stepped up, you know, he's, yeah. It's amazing, you know, and everyone's really becoming a team. And so I think it would be very difficult to say you, and you. I think everyone has their strengths, and we're a great unit, you know, who said something like that on, I think it was on Talking Dead, that we're kind of the Navy SEALs of the apocalypse. So I think any one of them is, a good bet.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Aubrey. I was wondering, what is your favorite episode that you have filmed in The Walking Dead?
Hi, Aubrey. I think, I will actually say I did really enjoy shooting Clear, which was 3/12. It was a deeply enjoyable episode to shoot for various reasons. What was the other one I loved? I mean, what I loved about the 4/9 was, taking out all those walkers. The thing that was really fun about that was I was only supposed to take out like 5 or 6 or 7. And then Greg Nicotero, he just wouldn't call cut. And because he's an EP, no one could tell him to call cut. Now, if it had been any other director, the other producers could just say, call cut, she's only allowed 8 kills, but he was an EP, so no one could tell him that. So it was kind of magical, because then I got to kill 24 zombies instead of 8. So that was cool. And every take, they would just let me go, and I would just do it differently, and the wonderful actors, the folks playing the walkers, they just responded to whatever I did. So that was really fun. And then her getting to actually come and find, getting to the point where she got to find Rick and Carl, I mean, that was the changing point for her that I really enjoyed doing. And I loved shooting the Crazy Cheese episode. I did love that. I love working with Mr. Riggs. I really do. There's something just really easy, very, very, very easy about how our characters connect that I cannot explain. But her giving him the gift of sharing that pain with him, and she never shared it with anybody, and she chooses to share it with this young man. I just thought was, a really special moment for her and for him. So that was really fun to do.
Heather.
Hi, my name is Jax.
Nice to meet you.
I kind of have a 2-part question, but, or just one question, I guess. Who has influenced you the most?
Sorry, who has what?
Who has influenced you the most in becoming an actor?
Oh, that is a very hard question. I actually can't even place an exact influence. I sort of feel like I stumbled into being an actor, and it was something I often have tried to run away from. In fact, I was actually trying to look into writing for screen, and I'd moved to LA to start doing that, and then the week I was moving into my new apartment to start writing and leave acting a little bit behind and just start looking at writing as a full-time thing, along comes the Michonne audition. The week. So I just feel like it's something that I'm just keen. The thing that I love to do and the thing that really propels me is storytelling. And if how I fit into the storytelling is as an actor or as a writer, I'm cool with either. But I think what really propels me is seeing great stories that have been told beautifully. And that really compels me forward, makes me want to do more, makes me want to create more, because I see how beautiful work can be done, and I sort of want to pursue that myself. But as an actor, I mean, I love seeing beautiful work. I mean, of course we all love watching Meryl Streep. I love watching Viola Davis. I love watching Michael Fassbender. There's certain people when you watch them act, I love watching Robin Wright. There's some people when you watch them and you're like, God, I want to do something right now, you know what I mean? They make you want to get up and go do something artsy, you know, because you're seeing them in their craft in a way that's just so compelling. So it's a lot of people. It's a village. It takes a village is the answer.
Well, your other play, Familiar, it's not a comedy, but it has humor in it.
It's almost a comedy.
Almost a comedy.
But lot of drama, yeah.
Is that something that you would be interested in pursuing more as a writer? And also, is that a difficult headspace to get into when you also then shift to the often bleak world of The Walking Dead?
No, it's strange. You know, I'm actually, they say multitasking is bad for you, but I don't know how I'd function without it. You know, I can literally, and I don't know who said that, you know, who said that? I don't think it's that bad for you if you know how to. It's about balancing, you know, and sometimes one thing feeds another in a great way. To me, getting into, no matter how bleak and dark it is, if it's great storytelling, I'm inspired, I'm engaged, I'm alive, I'm enjoying myself, you know, like I kind of lean towards intense stuff. Like that's kind of my thing. So Familiar is kind of the most, you know, the fact that at the end of the first act, people are cracking up after the lights have already come up always weirds me out. Like, I'm like, how is my play this funny? You know, did I want it to be this funny? You know, because I'm sort of that chick who goes after more intense stories. But I do have a totally goofy side to me. So, and Familiar is inspired by my own family. And, you know, come on, family can be so absurd and humorous without even realizing it, which is definitely the case with the family in Familiar. They're not trying to be funny, but they are very funny. And so, you know, I love exploring that side of myself, but all my plays have humor, even the ones that are very, like Eclipsed. There's a lot of humor in Eclipsed. But I think The Walking Dead has humor. I was watching this last episode. I love watching the episodes I'm not in, because I can just like watch it like everybody else. And so I was really enjoying watching the episode that just aired, and there was tons of humor in that episode. I was enjoying it so much, and like in so many ways I was laughing, and then it got, you know, some dark things happened at the end, but there were tons and tons of moments that were like, you know, just watching Mr. McDermott and, you know, Mr. Cutlets, you know, I mean, come on, like it's just so funny. And even just watching the dynamics between, you know, the Rosita and Denise and Daryl, like there was so many very, you know, humorous bits to what was going on. So, and I think that's what's great about the world, is that it's, what they're doing with the writing is that it's human. And if it's human, there's gonna be some humor in there somewhere. But yeah, with The Walking Dead, you always have to hold onto your chair because you don't know how the episode will end. You know, so it might have you laughing and then something else will happen. Yeah.
Hello. I'm Catherine, and I'm asking a question about Eclipsed. As a writer, what do you want audiences to leave with, especially American audiences?
Well, you know, I'm Zimbabwean and American, and so my goal as a writer is always very simple. It's always just to connect those two worlds. It's always to make the African story just something more familiar to my Western home and my Western family, which is all of you. So the goal of Eclipsed is very much the same. It's just about, I was amazed by the experiences of women in war. I grew up in a very peacetime Africa. I grew up in Southern Africa, very pristine Africa. So when I saw what was happening very far away from me, Western Africa is very far from Southern Africa. And I was amazed by the experiences and the stories and the devastation that women went through. But I was also amazed that a lot of women had functioned to stop that war. And the result of that, they were called the Peace Women of Liberia, and they would go right up to warlords and walk straight into the bush and go straight into those commanding officers' places, and they'd be dressed in white, and they'd appeal to them from their humanity, and they had no weapons, and they would get people to put down their weapons and go to treaties and do amazing things, and it resulted in the first woman president of the continent being a Liberian president, Ellen Sirleaf Johnson. So that sort of story, I'm like, the world should know about that, you know? And so honestly, the first goal is just to share a story that I just feel is rarely seen or heard. And I just want people to know about it. I was amazed when I went to Liberia. I was transformed by the women I met and what they'd gone through and their astounding courage and the complexity of their choices too. If you watch the play or come across it, these women are not all heroes. They are complex human beings navigating a very, very dire circumstance that they did not create. And so the goal for me is always to bring those types of complex, often African women stories to the world. And in terms of what people leave individually with, I can't prescribe that. As a storyteller, all you can do is hope that people are engaged. You could be engaged by a moment or a character, and then he could be engaged by something completely separate. And that's just based on who you guys are and where you're coming from and what your experiences are. So that I can't prescribe. My only hope is that people are engaged and they just know a little bit more about, you know, what's going on everywhere else. And they feel like the distance is not so different, that they feel the humanity around our global experiences. I always say the premise of Eclipsed is the same as the premise of The Walking Dead, which is, who would you be if the world got that dire? You know, you're not gonna be who you are right now. You know, we've seen all the things that Rick's gone through, all the ways he's changed from that minute he woke up in the hospital. You're just not gonna be who you were. And it's the same thing with Eclipsed. You're just not gonna be who you were if you step into a war zone. You're gonna turn into somebody else. So I love that there's that connection between the play and the show I'm in. It wasn't planned. So I just love that. That again proves the point that, you know, it's all one big family. So those are the goals, really.
Yeah. So sadly, we're actually out of time, but if you can make it one brief question, this will be our final.
I just have another Eclipsed question, and I was wondering if you drew any of your experience into the play. Absolutely not, no. The only play really where I can say I did that is Familiar. And I never planned to do that as a writer. I always wanted to tell stories that I felt no one tells or no one hears. So I was like, you can hear my story over a glass of wine. I don't need to put a whole play up for it. You know, I want to tell those stories that no one ever gets to hear, that I don't get to hear. So yeah, Eclipsed was really me stepping pretty far out of myself to go learn about West Africa. I had to learn about Liberia. It's a very specific country. It's nothing like Zimbabwe where I grew up. Liberia was actually created by the United States in the 1800s when John Monroe and a few others decided to create a freed African state for freed slaves. And so it's actually, you know, if you go to Liberia, that's why it's called Liberia, it's like the land of liberation. You know, a lot of things, Monrovia is named after Monroe, that's the capital city. So the way they speak English, the way they built their structures, even their government is mapped after America. Their flag is a mini American flag. And there's no other country in Africa like that. Every other country in Africa that is English speaking was colonized by the British. So Liberia is its own thing. So I could not bleed anything I knew into it. I had to go and just learn and let these women and the history of this country teach me about itself. And then of course, I've never been in a war zone. I've never been a girl in a village that vulnerable, you know. But, you know, a girl what I did probably pull for myself, the one thing is the character Lupita plays, you see her character go through from getting first abducted or being found to actually the moment when the war ends and she's a whole other person. And the idea of an eclipse is the idea that light is blocked. And that happens so much with girls and women in war, but we never talk about it. And so really getting to see this, when you see Lupita's character in the first scene, you see this brilliant-minded girl who has goals for herself and wants to do things in the world and sees her own value. And then you see how the world, and that was something I really was like, there's so many young girls out there who look like me but might not get the chances I got. And then her light gets blocked, but the hope, because in the course of the play she goes through a lot, but the hope is that an eclipse is temporary, and so that light will shift. So, I mean, that light will get to shine. So that was really probably the thing that it's that potential we don't want to lose. And that was really my goal with that play. So yeah, not a lot of it came from me directly, but it was very much an intense hope that we pay more attention to these experiences.
And on that note, if you guys find yourself in New York City, check out Eclipsed, check out Familiar, written by Danai, and also check out new episodes, second to the last episode of Walking Dead Season 6, tomorrow night, Salt Lake Comic-Con. Please show your love and